80% of women feel like they're not enough. I had a lot of what the world told me success looked like, but underneath it all, I still didn't feel like I was enough. But it was also that moment that I became obsessed with, okay, this is a thing. Every single one of us, we do not soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth, and figuring out how to rise and raise the level of our self-worth literally changes every single aspect in our entire lives.
And I'm so glad that someone that has achieved what you have is bringing this conversation to the forefront. I think worthiness is a silent dream killer that's not acknowledged, it's not explored, it's not a feeling or a discussion that people are used to having. Welcome back. This is the Kelly Roach Show, and I am so excited and honored to have back here with me today, Jamie Kern Lima. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Kelly, thank you so much. It's so great to be here. I am excited.
Absolutely. Well, you are one of the women that is out there paving the path and trailblazing. And I always think about a cornfield, and I think about the women leaders that carve out that space and build a path, right? That other women can then follow along. And you are one of those people. Obviously, what you have been able to create and build, and what you have been able to do from the hard years of your QVC days every single week, right? I remember you telling your story about, every weekend, and you were staying at the house in Malvern, and you're flying back and forth, and you're on QVC. How many days out of the year? How many?
We did over 250 shows a year for 8 years straight.
250 shows a year for 8 years straight, you guys. And that brick, you laid brick by brick by brick, right? And built $1 billion company, and then went to be the first CEO, the first woman CEO in L'Oreal, right? I mean, what you've been able to do. And you're one of those people, Jamie, that people look at your story and they connect so deeply with the vulnerability of the things that you've shared about what you felt, what you went through, what you experienced in building that success. And when we had you on the show the first time, and we talked about your last book, I remember just reading it and bawling my eyes out, and then basically telling every person I know, like every female leader, I was like, you must read this, and you must read this, and handing out copies to people, right? So your story is amazing, and I would love to hear for you from the last time we spoke with the last book to now Worthy, hitting the market. What has been happening in your life? What propelled you to write the new book? Like, talk to me a little bit about the journey and how you arrived on this concept of Worthy, and why you felt so passionate about dedicating this time and this energy to this message that you're bringing forward now.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you. Literally as we're speaking live right now together in this moment, as everyone's listening, 80% of women feel like they're not enough. 75% of female executives deal with imposter syndrome. It is a situation that is huge. A lot of people, post everything that looks really great online, and they're working really, really hard to build their confidence, and they don't understand why underneath it all, no matter what they accomplish, they still feel like something's missing, or like they're not enough. No matter how much enough they get, they still feel not enough. And, when you shared a little bit about my story just now, I didn't know what I know now, which is that if you do not have self-worth, underneath everything, it doesn't matter how much self-confidence you build, doesn't matter how much you accomplish or anything else on the outside, how many dreams you've had your whole life finally come to fruition. If underneath it all, you still haven't done the work to build up that identity of strong self-worth, then you're going to either never feel enough, or you're going to keep accomplishing these things and always kind of feel like something's missing, and like you thought they'd make you happy and you don't know why they're not. And so then you go on to the next thing, or on to the next relationship, or on to the next job, whatever it might be, still searching for that thing that really is inside of you. And so when I had written Believe It, my first book, and, I sold my company, I started in my living room for over $1 billion cash. And as you shared, became the first woman to hold a CEO title of a brand, and L'Oreal's 100+ year history, all the things. I was really confident in my life. And I had worked so hard to achieve what I thought would make me really happy. I finally arrived at feeling enough. And I wasn't sure why I still didn't quite feel that way. And I also wasn't aware of the difference. And so the reason I wrote Worthy, my book Worthy, which by the way, 100% of the proceeds are being donated. It's literally, I wrote it for every single woman and person who has some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. And despite, even if they're really good at hiding it from the world, they still don't know why inside they do not feel like they're enough. And, this all started, and I really feel too, Kelly, like Worthy is the best work of my life, like beyond anything I've ever done. And I think it's because there is a universal issue, and this is really across every person. 73% of men feel inadequate, but this in particular is a deep thing for women. And I think, you do so much incredible work on helping women achieve their goals and their dreams and be total badasses and all the things. And it's so important. And there was a pivotal moment in my life where I was at what felt like the peak of all these things, and getting into Forbes and all the magazine covers, all these things are happening. And my dream my whole life was to meet Oprah. And I had lunch with Oprah at her house, just me and her. And it went over 3 hours. It was like one of the best. It was better than I could have imagined. At the very end of it, she gave me her cell phone number and said, call me anytime. Like, you can call me anytime. And I did not call her for 4 years. And for 4 years, and this is a story, by the way, for anyone right now, whoever has just been stuck and they don't know why, or sabotaged something in their life and they don't know why, or took their business or their personal relationship to a certain level and then literally had things just flip in reverse and they don't know why. So everything in my life was going so well. And then I get her number and I don't call her for 4 years. And in that 4-year window, like, I told myself stories like, oh, I'm not calling her yet because I don't have the perfect thing to say. But when I think of the right thing to say, then I'm going to call, right? Or I would say things to myself like, oh, everyone just wants something from her. I'm going to prove I don't. Like, all these stories I tell myself. And then one day I realized, like, it hit me so hard. Like, my knowing in my gut was like, you have not called her because deep down inside, you don't believe you're worthy of being her friend. And what I realized, Kelly, was at this moment in my life, I had a lot of self-confidence. I had a lot of, which is often based on external things that fluctuate if we're winning or losing, how we feel we measure up to other people, if we're keeping the promises we make to ourselves, all those things. And I had a lot of self-confidence, and I had a lot of what the world told me success looked like. But underneath it all, I still didn't feel like I was enough. And it was that moment that I picked up the phone and called her. But it was also that moment that I became obsessed with, okay, this is a thing. And the more I did my research, I'm like, 80% of women feel like they're not enough. I'm like, what has self-doubt and feeling unworthy already cost us in our lives and in our relationships and in our careers and in our hopes and dreams? And when I realized that, I became obsessed with really, like, so Believe It. My first book was really my story of building at cosmetics and all the things that we overcame. And Worthy is the book about how do you believe in you. There's like over 20 tools in the book on how do you build unshakable self-worth. Because really, when it comes down to it, every single one of us, we do not soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth, and figuring out how to rise and raise the level of our self-worth literally changes every single aspect in our entire lives.
It's so powerful. And I'm so glad that someone that has achieved what you have is bringing this conversation to the forefront, because I think worthiness is a silent dream killer that's not acknowledged, it's not explored, it's not a feeling or a discussion that people are used to having, right? Like our generation is the first generation, first of all, that even like talks about our feelings in the way that we do, right? Like we talk about things, we explore self-awareness, we look at parts of ourselves that in past generations it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't top of mind to do these things that we're doing. But I think it's so important that someone that has achieved what you have is bringing this conversation to the forefront, because it's one of those things that I think, like you said, it took you 4 years to finally identify that there was this worthiness thing going on that was actually altering your behavior and preventing you from this whole next level of what could be possible if you let this friendship unfold, what could be possible if you allow this communication to continue. And it's like one of those things where I think the power of what this book is going to do is it's going to allow a lot of us to identify areas where we are subconsciously altering our behavior because of a lack of worthiness, where we don't even realize that we're doing it. And that's the most devastating thing, is like, it's one thing if you know you have an issue and it's like, okay, this is an issue, I'm gonna work on this thing. It's another thing if you don't even realize that's why you're not doing the thing that you're perfectly capable of doing. And I think the book is going to be so powerful in helping us. You said there's 20 tools in the book.
Yeah.
20 tools in the book, right? So talk a little bit about that, because I think this is so key. And I think, like I said, I think it's under the surface stuff sometimes that we don't even realize is going on.
Yes, so true. And here's a big thing, which is one of the chapters in the entire book that I think is going to just be life-changing for so many people. Because for a lot of us, let's just take the 80% of us that do not feel enough, right? And by the way, in that group, or 75% of female executives who feel imposter syndrome, they're still crushing it by external measures, right?
Yes.
And so this is something that is so easy to hide, and it's so easy for us to feel alone in these feelings. And, you know, if, you know, I'm just going to talk to the one person listening to us right now, right? Let's just say you, the one person listening, feels, and inside you still feel like you're not quite enough. So the number one thing is to know, okay, you are not alone. You are not alone. It is not you. It is the majority of us. And here's one of the big tools and big chapters in the book that I think is just going to be so life-changing, is that there is a very big confusion out there between self-confidence and self-worth. And they're actually very different things. Both are really important. Both are really important for overall fulfillment in life, but they're very different. And when we realize this, it is like a light bulb moment that goes, oh, this is why everything I accomplish still doesn't solve that feeling of not enoughness, or this is why everybody I please and make happy and all the things still doesn't, right? And so here's just kind of a quick thing to share on this for someone to know, is this a thing in their life? So, you know, so self-confidence is, while it's a deeply internal trait, it is based so much on the external, meaning, you know, your own assessment of your skills and abilities, right? And as you get more skill, you become more confident in an area. It's if you're winning or losing, how you feel you stack up compared to other people. If you're keeping promises you make to yourself, your willingness to try and go for it. So all of those are tied to your self-confidence. And that's why when we work really, really hard and hit fitness goals, we feel more confident in our fitness, right? It can fluctuate up or down based on external circumstances. Self-worth is the deep internal knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Not as you achieve, not as, you know, your past mistakes or failures, not as how smart or talented or equipped you feel you are, but literally exactly as you are, exactly as you are. And, you know, in life, we are raised in a culture that is so driven by economic impact and by really well-intended families where we all learn that, okay, you're not happy yet, but the way you're gonna get happy is you got to get the the 3 kids in the white picket fence in the house, or you've got to get this particular job title, or this dream car,
Yeah.
or these 6-pack abs. And so then we work, right? And for anyone listening who's ever done this, you have a goal that you dream of, and you're like, once I get that, then,
Yeah.
right,
Yep.
then. And then you work so hard, and it might take months or years or decades, but then you eventually get that thing, whether it's having the kids, whether it's the
Yeah.
job or the car, the 6-pack abs.
Yeah.
And once you get there, right? Does it solve all of your problems? Are you now happy forever? Are you
Yeah.
fulfilled? Do you finally feel enough?
Yeah.
For most people, they arrive there and they feel all this fulfillment for a minute, or a week or an hour or a month.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, I don't understand why I still feel this like emptiness inside, like something's missing, or like I'm still not enough. And so then what they do is they go, okay, I must just need to achieve more. I just need to work harder. So then we go after the next thing, right?
Yes.
And then the next thing. And we just keep thinking it's our fault, that if we just finally get those things and we get enough, and we'll be enough. The issue is all those things, they bring growth, which is important. They build a whole lot of self-confidence, which is very, very important. But none of them build self-worth. None of them impact your self-worth. So many people literally will spend their entire lives pleasing everyone else and achieving and achieving and achieving, and they'll never actually be able to enjoy it. And so, yeah. And so
like feel that feeling of like, yes, yeah.
Like I'm enough. And here's the thing too, Kelly, especially because I know so many people in your community are probably a lot like you and I, where we're ambitious, we have so much to give and serve and create and ideate. And one thing I want to say is that when you build self-worth, let that knowing you're enough exactly as you are, it does not curb your ambition. You actually become so much more ambitious, because you know that even if you fail at stuff, it does not impact your worth. So you become so much more fearless when you know, no matter what you go after, if you win, lose, fail, if you're embarrassed, if you fall flat on your face, like, okay, your confidence might fluctuate for a minute, but your self-worth is rock solid. And when you have that, you actually become even more ambitious. And so really learning how to, first of all, just becoming aware of it. Second of all, a lot of people are aware that they don't quite feel enough, but they try to solve it by building self-confidence. And while self-confidence is so important as a piece of fulfillment in life, it does not make you feel enough. It does not build self-worth. So just that awareness of the difference is huge, because you're like, okay, great. So I'm still going to work on growing, and I'm still going to contribute to and serve other people, and I'm still going to build confidence. And those 3 things are very important for fulfillment. But I've got a self-worth issue. And now let me figure out what I do about that, because that's the foundation of everything. And we're raised, even so many of us that are blessed enough to have families that just love us so much. Whenever we see them, for most people, they're always asking what we're doing. How's our job going? What relationship are we in? And we've learned to think that those are the things that we need to have to feel enough. We're just never raised that, for most of us, who we are innately is more than enough. So.
Oh my gosh, so powerful. I think the distinction between the internal and external is so key, because I personally think it's almost like a cultural thing where we've been cultivated to believe that the external things are what are going to make you feel validated, make you feel enough, make you feel worthy. And what you're saying is these are 2 different tools. These are 2 completely different things. And one is not going to impact the other, right? You have to do the inside work. And then when you do that amazing outside work, you will actually get to feel it, embody it, actually feel a sense of belonging. I think something I've heard from a lot of women before, Jamie, is like, they'll achieve a high level of success. They'll finally have one of those like life altering moments, right, of achievement, and they literally feel like they're dressed up in someone else's clothes, because they don't feel worthy of it. They don't feel comfortable in their own skin with the achievement that they created for themselves. And I think what you're sharing is so powerful in helping to bring that together. And I think go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that, one of the things I open Worthy with is a whole thing about how, you know, that in life, we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We follow what we believe we're worthy of. And in that case, you know, we talk about imposter syndrome, right? We are taught, like, oh my gosh, from the time we're little girls, or I mean, and I love me a good Disney movie. I love it.
Yeah.
To this day, I love it. And we see in all the fairy tales that we need a Prince Charming to rescue us, or we're gonna sleep and Sleeping Beauty until we wake up. Or Ariel, we don't have a voice, we lose our voice until we fall in love and the man kisses us, and then we wake up. Or, you know, Cinderella, we learn we have to be rescued, and that we're not enough on our own. And then, you know, we become adult women who then think we can't launch our business, or our business isn't going well if we don't have the right mentor. And let me just say, mentors are huge. I mentor a lot of women, and mentors have been life-changing for me. I love a great mentor. And also, it is so important to know that you are enough on your own. And, you know, for me, all the mentors that have been in my life and that are in my life, you know, whenever they give me a piece of advice, I always run it through my own intuition first. And I always go, okay, does this feel right in my gut? And sometimes I'll say to them, thank you so much for this advice. I know you've done, you know, you have 30 plus years of experience, more than I do. It doesn't quite feel right in my gut. So this time I'm going to go with my gut on this. And then other times they'll give me a piece of advice. I'm like, yes, like I just know, right? And so I think the more steps and the more work we do on building our self-worth, that's how you walk into a room and you know you belong there. That is how you build a business and get the big title and have the big thing happen, and you don't arrive feeling like you don't deserve it because you feel like you're not enough, right? And those are all lies. So in Worthy, when I wrote Worthy, there's like the entire middle 2/3 of the book is about the lies that lead to self-doubt, and then the truths that wake up worthiness. And there's a whole chapter in there on imposter syndrome, because it is such a thing. It is such a thing. And it is a lie, like the lie that we are not enough will talk us out of our truth. We'll be doubting. If anyone listening has ever doubted yourself out of your own destiny, like so many of us are so close to doing that, right? And my Oprah example is just one small example, but I've done it in so many areas of my life. And I also know that, you know, I feel like this conversation is so important, because when you look at the numbers, it is just staggering, right? And it's like, okay, even someone, you know, who maybe has had an experience like me, where I went after all of these things and worked so hard for it over a decade, and then had the success and the outcome I could have only dreamed of. Like Kelly, the days I was a Denny's waitress, I could have never imagined selling my business for over $1 billion, right? But I feel like that happened to me. Not so I sold my company for $1 billion. I mean, I'm grateful. I fund leadership training in over 100 prisons. I do a lot of stuff with that. But I feel like it happened to me so that I can understand, oh, that's not it. That's not it. And it's not that I'm not all for ambition. I am. I work harder now than I ever have. You know what I mean? But it's like, oh, but
I see it. I see that in you. And I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to backtrack for one moment, because you were just talking about, you know, with mentorship and running things through your own filter. And it's something that I've been talking so much about on the show, which is self-leadership, self-trust, right? Becoming self-led, right? Allowing God, intuition, yes to mentors, yes to coaches. I'm a coach and mentor too, right? But I don't want people to just take what I say as, you know, the word, right? It's trusting yourself and being in tune with your intuition. And I think decision by committee kills a lot of people's talent, right? When they don't have that sense of worthiness to trust themselves, when they have an instinct, when they have an intuition. And so I just want to tie that together for everyone listening to the show, because we've been talking so much about self-leadership, self-trust, you know, intuition, faith. And I feel like what you're saying here, Jamie, with Worthy is like, this is really tying that whole thread together of when you have a sense of worthiness, you build a sense of self-trust, you have a sense of self-leadership. And yes, of course, you're still going to seek counsel. You're still going to ask for help, ask for, feedback, but ultimately you are the person that is in charge and taking charge of your future. And I appreciate that thread that you just pulled through. And I just think it's important for our listeners here, because it's a conversation that we're having. And I think it goes hand in hand. Society is telling everyone that everything they seek is external, when what we know is so much of it is inside, and you're bringing people back to that, right?
And I think what you said, just learning to trust yourself. And for a lot of people, especially women, they've gone their whole lives, like you said, actually making decisions by committee and getting a gut feeling, but then just doubting it and going against it. And there's a lot of women, I hear from so many women that say, like, I don't even know how to hear my own intuition. Like, how do I do that? And it is such an important skill. I think it's the most important skill, because when it comes to self-worth, every time that you show up as someone other than who you are, as your representative, or every time you please someone else when you end up betraying yourself through it, every time you have a gut feeling and you decide not to trust it, you listen to someone else instead, every one of those situations, you're telling yourself you're not enough as you are. Right? Every one of those things. And you look at, oh my gosh, you look at the scientific data that just like the negative biases that we have in our brains, right? We know that when we see one bad comment online, in the US right now, you need to see 5 positive to even have a neutral response. Right. And so when you think of the own thoughts you have about yourself, if you think something negative about yourself, if you put yourself down, you need to think something positive, uplifting 5 times just to be neutral. And most people, right? And similarly, if you then, have a gut feeling, but you listen to someone else, or you show up in an interaction and don't say how you really feel or who you really are, or you show up as your representative. Every time that happens, it's a betrayal of trust to your own self-worth. You need 5 or more opposite, positive, showing up as who you fully are, trusting how you really feel, saying what you really mean, just to get back to neutral self-worth. And so some of these tools, when you start looking at the science behind them, and then also like, and what I love though, is that this isn't complicated. It's just awareness. And it's like, for me,
it's awareness. Yes.
It's awareness. And then
so
the tools that feel like the head explosion emoji, that they're actually really easy to apply right now, that you start building your self-worth and learning to trust yourself. There's a whole chapter that goes deep into how do you hear your own intuition and build it. And whether for you, it's through the universe or meditation or through prayer and God, it's like learning how to just get still, hear it, and trust it, learning how to look back at past experiences in your life where you either did trust yourself or didn't, and what happened, so that you build that muscle of intuition. Yeah, we go deep and worthy on how to do that, because to your point, it is so important, and learning to trust yourself is a foundational tool of raising your self-worth. And if you want to double your business, double your self-worth.
Oh my gosh. Amen. Amen. So I have one quick question I want to ask before we wrap up. And then obviously we want everybody to go grab their copy of the book. I want to acknowledge you. I don't really consume a lot of content online. I read a ton of books. I'm going to consume that book in 5 minutes. But you are someone that, after exiting the company and creating what you did, I see you showing up with all of your heart, all of your energy, all of your everything. You're so present. You're challenging yourself in new ways. Like, I see you, and I'm like, wow. And obviously by choice, right? And so much of what you're doing is philanthropic at this point. And, the book, the proceeds of the book are, going to give back and all of these things. So talk just for like 30 seconds, Jamie, about just kind of your vision for yourself and that next level of where you're going now, in a new and different way.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Kelly. I am I think my mission on this earth is to help especially women feel less alone and more enough. And I'm so passionate about it. When I look at everything I've done, I think that's the through line through it. What I know, and I think Oprah coined this phrase actually, is that every one of us, is really here to live the highest, truest expression of ourselves. And I know what I know for sure is that you need self-worth, and you also need to be doing something greater than yourself to ever feel fulfillment. And and this year for me, that looks like, spending my entire life getting this book Worthy into everyone's hands, even though 100% of the proceeds are being donated. Like this, I feel like no girl, no woman, no person left behind, and knowing they're worthy. I'm so passionate about it. And no matter where someone's at in their ability to give time or money or attention or their works to something greater than themselves, like it can come in the simplest ways of just, you just spent a moment and you just told me, I see you, is what you did. And that is the greatest gift we can give to anyone else. And for everyone joining us, like, even if that's the one thing you're like, okay, let me just actually start really seeing someone, whether it's in the Starbucks line, whether it's the neighbor, let me just really let them know I see them the way you just did for me. Like, even if it's a stranger and you just give an authentic compliment, like for most people, that is the only time someone's going to actually see them that day, that week, that month, for some people that year. And you just get that sense of like, oh, wow, I am doing something greater than myself. And so for me, that's really what this is all about. And I think all the things we each go through in our lives, even the tough times, the things we're embarrassed about, the setbacks, I think we make it through it so that we can now help others make it through it.
100%. That's it.
Yeah, that just gives that sense of purpose. And so most of my life, I mean, people see my story and they're like, oh, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company. But my real story is also a girl who most of my life didn't feel enough. And it wasn't until very recently in becoming obsessed with how do you solve that, that I've figured out how. And so I'm just honored and grateful to hopefully share that with every single girl and woman who, knows they're destined for greatness, and it's about time to believe in it.
That's amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you're doing this work. Thank you. Thank you. It's a gift for sure. So let's invite everyone. Where can they get the book? Where can they go to order it right now? And let's get this book out in the world.
Yes. And I want to say too, Kelly, oh my gosh. Okay. When you get your copy at home of Worthy, I put a library card in the back, because this is my ask to every single woman, especially person. I will say person, when you get it and you get through your book, will you write your name in it, but write someone else's name and give your book to somebody? Unless you want to keep 1 billion notes in it, then give one to someone if you can. But I really want pass your book on to another woman, because I'm so passionate about this. Like, I really believe we can change the world. And if women believed in themselves, oh my gosh, the businesses that would just explode and accelerate, you know what I mean? The unhealthy friendships or relationships that would end. And so you can grab it anywhere books are sold. And when you go to worthybook.com, there's some just thank you gifts on there for free as well at worthybook.com. And I'm excited. I'm grateful for the chance to talk with you about it as well too, Kelly. So thank you.
Yeah. So worthybook.com. Worthybook.com.
Worthybook.com.
Guys, we're going to put everything in the show notes down below. Don't just get one for yourself. Get one for yourself, for all the other female business leaders that you know. Give it out as a holiday gift. Gift someone with something in their life that they're not going to return after the holidays that is actually going to change their life for the better. So grab your copy, grab a few copies for your business besties. Jamie, thank you so much for being here. Such powerful, amazing leadership for women. And that's the thing about you, Jamie, is like, you are someone that is in the cornfield that is literally plowing pathways for other leaders. And just, I want you to know that, and a thank you from all of us.
All in this together. Thank you, as you are as well. That's why you see it in me, because it's in you. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you,
Thanks
Kelly.
for tuning in, everybody.